Alright guys, so welcome back to Gamer. Today, a new portal's opened up in Fortnite. We're going to take a look at it right here, and I'm going to show you guys where you can find this, and we're going to talk about what's coming to the game. Well, what's coming to the game of Fortnite? Well, Ken and Ryu from the Street Fighter franchise, and I'm going to prove that to you right now. But first off, where can you actually find this portal for yourself in case you're curious? It's right next to Sweaty Sands. This one's very easy to find, and no one's going there, so it should be pretty easy for you guys to see for yourself. Either way, this is where you can find it right there, super easy. Let's get into it though. When you look inside the portal, you can see basically a castle or a temple in the background. Yeah, I've just given a big hint. If you've ever played Street Fighter 2, if you know anything about the Street Fighter franchise, you're going to recognize this castle. That's Suzaku's Castle. This is pretty cool. This is one of the best stages in Street Fighter 2 and one of the most memorable for sure. And if you listen closely, you can hear this main theme, and I'm going to actually play it right here for you. This is the theme you're hearing, but very ambient and slowed down a little bit and in the background. So right here on the Gamer Today show, we just confirmed the obvious, which is basically Street Fighter characters are coming to the world of Fortnite. We're going to be getting Ken and Ryu, the two most iconic characters of Street Fighter. Now guys, we're going to go through some history of this though. What is Street Fighter? What is so popular about this game? It's just a fighting game. Well, we're going to get into that right now. So you Fortnite players who've never heard of Street Fighter, never played one of the games, we're going to get into why you might want to care about Ken and Ryu coming to the game of Fortnite. Or you might not, but hey, at least you'll know what it's about now. So Street Fighter is basically one of those game franchises that came out in 1987 from Capcom. 1987 was a pretty good year for fighting games. There was a whole bunch of different fighting franchises out at the same time. Everyone was fighting for that top spot. The original Street Fighter game was a success, however it didn't have the big success that Street Fighter 2 had. The reason for it is the controls were a little wonky and it was slower paced. And obviously there was a lot of people fighting for that same spot, and there were other fighting games before Street Fighter came to the market, so they had to make a name for themselves. The characters were lovable, but the gameplay just wasn't. So it had success in the arcades, but when it came to home ports, they even changed the name to Street Fighter or Fighting Street at one point to certain versions of the consoles, which was strange, and they didn't port it to major consoles at first. So that was a complete garbage move on their part. But Street Fighter 2 came out and had more versions than any other version of their games. What do I mean by versions? Well, essentially they had a huge success with Street Fighter 2, the original in the arcade, but it had problems. There were glitches, there were bugs, there were balancing issues, different things that needed to be fixed about the game. Back in the old days, you couldn't do DLC updates. You had to release a whole new game. You couldn't just patch a game. So essentially that's what they did. They kept making different versions. So you have the Super version, you have Turbo version, and you have tons of other versions in between. There's I think 6 versions of basically Street Fighter 2 out there. Like when we're talking about versions, we mean total renditions, and all of them have been successful. Street Fighter 2 as a whole, all these different versions combined, basically up to today's standards has made about $10 billion. And that's no chump change. Now guys, these games were primarily two-dimensional, obviously, they were pixel art, but nowadays they've actually gone into the 3D realm as well. Street Fighter 4 being one of the most popular, and Street Fighter 5. Some people really still like these games, but then there's a lot of people who really prefer the two-dimensional art of the games, because they just grew up with that, they like the art style, and I personally like the two-dimensional as well. But I will say, I never liked Street Fighter that much, so I'm one of those people who's in the camp of who cares, right? Well, the reason why you should care about Street Fighter is it's got an iconic history in the game world of fighting games. If you've ever played a Mortal Kombat game or any other fighting game, you have this game to thank for it. Final Fight and stuff like that was the competition for Street Fighter back in the day, but guess what? Street Fighter came out on top. When's the last time you heard of a Final Fight game? Have you even heard of a Final Fight game? You haven't. Street Fighter, you probably have heard of it, but you didn't care. Now you might. Anyways guys, these games are a lot of fun. The characters have iconic looks and humor, and it's just very over-the-top silliness, but it's a very fun game. The game doesn't take itself too seriously, and I think that's something to be commemorated for. It's got the right amount of balance of humor and basically seriousness. The characters' stories are very basic and over-the-top. I don't want to ruin anything for you, but basically it's about being the strongest, being the most powerful. It's pretty straightforward stuff. It's a fighting game. If you go into it expecting a deep story, you're going to be very disappointed. But anyways guys, yeah, this basically franchise has even had movies. It's been crossovered into many different video games, including the Marvel vs. Capcom series, which a lot of you guys have probably played growing up, and those are fun games. So yeah, you might already know who Ken and Ryu are from those other games and franchises. One of the biggest crossovers with Street Fighter I can think of that you probably know of is the Smash Brothers one. You guys who play on the Switch, you know what I'm talking about. Smash Brothers included basically Ken and Ryu. They did that, I think, all the way back in the Wii U days. I could be wrong, but for sure now it's on the Switch version. So that's pretty darn cool. And if you guys like the characters from that game, hey, maybe Fortnite's a place that you might want to use them as well. I don't know guys, this is just a video trying to give you a little bit of information. The franchise is still making games to this day, and there's a lot of super fans out there that have like everything, and it's totally cool. I honestly really think Street Fighter franchise is a great franchise, but not for me. Anyways guys, hopefully you did enjoy the video, and if you did, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know in the comment section down below, did this video help you? And if it did, let me know, I'm curious. Anyways guys, until next time, it's been Gamer Today.